Recording in progress. Hi, Martians. I cannot wait to share this word with you. Okay, so first things first, I just want to say thank you to everybody who wished me and my family condolences for my aunt. It's truly a blessing. I really appreciate it. It's been a long August. Okay. Second, so don't be freaked out, but I do have a lot of information to share with you all during this time. Let me get this lint out. Was that gray hair? Child, I'm aging. But let me tell you something real quick, okay? So all day for the last 2 days, I have been watching pandemic, avian flu, blah, blah, blah type of movies and such, right? So let me tell you something. I had a dream last week on August 23rd that we were approaching something magnificent. I can't describe it. I just know that another pandemic is coming based upon my dream. So, shout out to Beto for also piggybacking off of my original video. I'll be happy if you throw me some coins, you know what I mean? Because I saw that you already had 25K views on YouTube when you were talking about the zombies. But Beto broke it down on a spiritual side, right? And I think that we don't realize that eating meat will eventually affect us. I didn't eat meat for 10 years and I started eating meat again because I was looking like a bobblehead. And energetically, I just wasn't feeling at my best. So before my cycle, I usually have some type of steak, just so that my iron levels aren't super low and I'm not freezing all the time. And that has worked for me successfully. I'm eating like a little Asian grandma now. So I always have like some type of rice, some broth or some soup, very small slither portions of meat. And that's really been my jam for a little while now. But let me tell you something. In the dream, it actually had showed me the deer. It showed me the rabbit, and I was looking in binoculars in a national park at some duck. And I don't know if you ever seen that culture where they have those rings around their necks that were like gold, right? And it stretches their necks out. But this was like little layers of bugs around their neck. So I went to Handy Dandy ChatGPT and was like, yo, what type of illness that would be able to be reminiscent to the deer and the rabbits. And they said, well, it'd be avian flu. So this has really been on my mind for the last several days. I would say for the last week because I'm recording this on Monday for Tuesday. And I promise you right now, when I started doing all of the research, probably since Friday, just really looking into it, understanding what my dreams have been trying to relay to me, and they have been so supersonic, okay? And one of the things that I've discovered was that this is a major problem throughout the country and the United States and abroad, I should say, right? Because I am in the US, just for clarification purposes. And all around the country, there has been a jump, right, of avian flu from birds to now cattle, which is a mammal. So as humans, we are mammals. So we have similar types of reproductive systems, similar types of intestines and organs and things like that, which is why they decided to start putting pig kidneys into human beings, right? So here we are with this issue of avian flu that has now it jumped species from bird to cattle, which is cows and things of that nature. And if in the event it decides to jump to humans, we are fucked. Okay. Now, just recently, as I said, I've been looking at this for several days with, the celebration of life for my family. I went back into it the next day and even some today. And I had seen before I went to rest last night that avian flu has been found in two storks. And I think it's so interesting that it was with storks in New Delhi yesterday. And that means that in India, this thing has already started. Now, I don't know how many people have ever paid attention to the World Economic Forum, the World Health Organization. any of those types of things, right? Now, if you don't know, the World Economic Forum had put out something of a simulation type of pandemic that eventually did happen in 2020, and they did the same exact thing in 2022. And that thing is supposed to take place September 2025. Now, I'm recording this on the evening of September 1st, just so I can kind of gather all my thoughts together at once because it's been a long day for me. And I just so happened to be watching this thing last night, and they gave the full-on simulation video of the next pandemic. And long and behold, guess what type of flu it was? You've guessed it. So now, if this is really supposed to take place and now it is starting once again abroad in places such as New Delhi, where don't you know, India has like billion something population, as does Asia, right? So here we are with these large, overpopulated regions now starting to report this illness once again. And I promise you, if avian flu decides to hit human life, it could be worse than the Spanish flu. Now, we know that the Spanish flu was like $20 million dollars and we all 20 million, excuse me, lives, $20 million dollars. But it could be as catastrophic and way beyond damage than Hurricane Katrina, right? We just all, most of us watched the docuseries that just dropped last week, Wednesday, on Hurricane Katrina and know that they were over $100 billion in the deficit, right? Um, just because of all the damage that took place, and they were really deciding if they wanted to rebuild New Orleans or not, right? So now think about this. All of the damage that took place in one small location, but this being two or three times larger than that. And you got to think about our current president of the United States decided to cut funding for multiple agencies at the same damn time. Okay. That is going to be a catastrophic incident because of the simple fact that the funding was cut and there will be little to no alerts as to what is taking place at the same time. Now, today I watched every pandemic, contagion, scamdemic movie that you can think about. Multiple platforms, Tubies and unlocked Fire Sticks, whatever you could think of, I watched it today. And I promise you, the one thing that got out to me and it rang bell and rang true is the importance of cleanliness. How do you avoid this from affecting you? And one of the main things is washing your friggin' hands. And this is the same exact thing that could have prevented COVID-19, right? The spread of it in mass numbers was washing your hands. I'm walking around Wally's World doing school supply shopping, right? And long and behold, they had the Guinness World Records book there. And in the freaking book, right, I'm flicking through the page, they had this guy with the longest nails ever, okay? You know, I got no long nails, but his nails were so freaking long. They were probably the size of me. And the man said he don't wash his hands ever because it'll weaken his nails. And that got me to thinking, like, damn. Is that why my nails be breaking all the time? Because I'm like a little baby piss pot and I'm always washing my hands thoroughly, getting in between the fingers. You know, they tell you to sing the happy birthday song, and I'm not singing that song all over my life. So I'll just be washing my hands, right, for the dumb longest 30 to 40 seconds, right? And I was like, wow. So if he never washes his hands, that means that he is filthy. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is exactly how germs spread, right? And he's a painter. His nails were literally filled with actual paint, not nail polish, like paint. So how many germs are you spreading if you sell your paintings, right? So I just keep getting annoyed by the uncleanliness of people and how people are just not taking care of their health. And we're seeing that in mass numbers every single day here on this planet, right? Smile for the camera. And I'm just so annoyed by it because how did we get here, right? How did we get to a point where people are just not washing their hands after they use the restroom or whatever it is that they're doing, right? They're not taking the extra precaution to possibly save a life, right? And then it's the audacity for me when it comes down to getting the vaccination, talking about you should get it so you could protect somebody else's life. First off, you don't even wash your effing hands when you leave the bathroom, but yet you want to tell me to get a vaccination? How you feel about you and your vaccination? Let's not talk about vaccinations because I be getting flagged for medical misinformation, knowing damn well there's nothing misinformed about that. So, I feel like at this level, if you're not washing your hands, if you're not washing your hands after you blow your nose, or just doing the basics, then you are the problem. That's number one. Number two, how else do you prevent this? Well, if for whatever reason you are affected by avian flu, it can show up in multiple ways. It can show up as a respiratory problem. It can show up as conjunctivitis, which is pink eye. It could show up as influenza, and then it could also show up as there was one more thing. Um, can't think about it right now, but when I do, I'll let you know. Fact is, if it shows up as any of those things, the people with the weakest immune system will be affected first. And this brings me back to my previous point about the vaccination. Anyone who partook in that vaccination has a weakened immune system. The problem is with influenza is that there is technically no cure for the flu. This is why every single year you need a new flu shot because there is always a mutation or a new strain coming about. And that is why you have to always get this shot. So if you just so happen to be one of those people who fall in line every September to get the latest flu shot, you may be protected from this. But again, because it is a new strain, it is a mutation, it could be stronger, it could be more powerful. There could be multiple waves of it, right? If it goes through a plane and it travels through multiple hosts and it becomes airborne, then what, right? You have a completely new strain that somebody didn't have before. So now you can eventually see it die off and then it could come back again with a vengeance, right? So there's so many different ways that this could spread, but the fact that it is a bird flu that can now jump to cattle, that can now jump to humans is a problem because you don't know how fast that sick process or that immediate contact to that illness can possibly kill somebody. And if we're talking about an avian flu, we're talking about at least 1 to 2% of the population of the world being affected by this. And if you just so happen to survive it, right? Chances are that you'll have some type of mental illness, some type of dizziness that you'll have to be on medication for the rest of your life, right? And I'm not saying this stuff to kind of harm people or make them afraid or anything like this. It's just that now I have to follow through my dream because this is a present day issue. Like I said, just yesterday, and it was technically already September 1st overseas. So just today, it was discovered that avian flu killed two birds in a zoo in New Delhi. Meanwhile, it has already killed multiple cattle here in the United States. Meanwhile, if there has been funding that has been cut already from the government, and this is not a large federal level type of illness, and now they're leaving it to 50 states to handle their statewide issue. What if you never know? In one of the movies that I was watching, they cut all communication in that specific town internet and telephone so that they don't spread the information to other counties, to other states, so that they are not frightening them, so that they can contain that one thing in that one town and not to make other people afraid. And Trump just launched the National Guard to 18 additional states outside of the District of Columbia, outside of DC. What are they preparing for? With FEMA also losing its funding, with DHS being the only one of the only agencies to be hiring right now. Where does that leave us? Department of Homeland Security, for those who do not know. Like, what is about to happen is going to be very serious and very critical. How can you prepare? You prepare your home for the things that you will need beyond the toilet tissue. You need water, you need food, you need basic necessities. If the power just so happens to go out, the grid shuts down, how will you survive? The stuff in your refrigerator is not going to work anymore. You need non-perishables. Maybe you need some charcoal or some type of gas tanks, right? To make sure you can light your gas grills up. You need medical supplies. If you're a diabetic, because in one of the movies, the father had his wife and his son in a bunker and he only had one tube of insulin left. He knew his son was going to die during that detainee portion of, and he knew he couldn't save him. Do you have all of the medications that you need? Right now, they only give people like up to a 30 or 60-day supply of medication. That is not by coincidence, right? Back in the day when I was on birth control, I used to get up to 6 months at a time because I used to go to one place and go get some and then go to another place and get some. So I never have to go into this fucking place for another 6 months. Y'all don't have to see me, right? How are you going to survive these things? Half of y'all are on medications that you really don't need. You just think that you need them because your body is just accustomed to taking them in at this level. But I don't want to go too much onto that, right? Because again, medical misinformation. I just so happen to be Nostradamus and know what the fuck I'm talking about, but they won't tell you that, right? Do you have enough supplies to hold you over for the next 30, 60, 90 days? Think about department stores, supermarkets, things of that nature being looted. Think about the entire supply chain industry being shut down. Right behind me, right here, right? This was in Chesapeake Bay. This right here were multiple like ships and things like that. There was a port not too far over, right? So you would consistently see the vessels sailing by. As somebody who was a manager and a pricing manager and a director and a salesperson and a da 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 in that space, I used to ship 200 containers a week from each port on the West Coast and the East Coast. We was doing big willy things, man. Okay. I can't even imagine what would have been like if I wasn't a part of delivering Lysol during the pandemic. You're welcome. I can't imagine what it's like if you would not be able to get food. You only get one truck full of mass deliveries, and that's supposed to feed an entire town. In one of the videos that I had watched today, the mom had lost her husband because he's the one who came from Hong Kong and brought it over to the United States. So he was the first case of avian flu. And she was so distraught at her husband dying abruptly that she had nothing in the house because she was just such an emotional mess. She couldn't even be there for her children. And then her son ends up getting it. And while he was able to beat it, the daughter is like, you know, there's no food in the house. All we have is rice and flour. So during the time of her taking care of her son, he wakes up and he's like, Mom, I'm hungry. Can you give me something to eat? And she ain't have nothing in the house. And her daughter started blacking out on her, like, chick, bruh, you've been MIA and I've been trying to tell you for how long that you've been starving me? Like, get your life in order and go get us some food type shit. So now she all of a sudden goes and gets, this food and She has to tussle some people for food and water and not recognizing that there are no supply chain deliveries. Everything is made in China right now, right? So if this is coming over from that area, and shout out to Trump for finally putting tariffs on India, I'm glad somebody's listening to my videos because I said this a long time ago. But if things are being made in China and India like they're going out of style, and now they're just starting to put tariffs on that. And yes, I do know that there has been a stamp on it saying that these tariffs are illegal. But if that court date, which is in October, doesn't ever happen because of a pandemic, then what? Hmm? We're just going to be asked out because there's a good chance that things will completely halt. Remember that time when there was hundreds of container ships, vessel ships just docked at the ports waiting for them to be unloaded, just sitting in the water, right? If one thing in the supply industry stops, you already got high tariffs. Imagine now you can't even get the freight to the department stores. You have no food. People are going to die for multiple reasons. I've been saying this for this whole entire year. Please get used to death. And I know I know it's difficult for me to like relay this message the way that I have been, but in all reality, just really get accustomed to it because I promise you, if avian flu hits, I cannot emphasize how bad this could be. And I don't live in fear. So if it's my time, y'all already know I've been trying to get beamed up my whole life. Hello. Hello. It's like, hello. Like I got all the signs. Come get me. Like, hello. This is not a game, right? Sure, I'm not saying that I'm suicidal or anything like that. I'm just saying I'm not afraid of death and I'm not afraid to leave off this planet. If I'm just so happen to be taken off because of whatever reason may be, I feel like I've, done my due diligence and I have operated in my purpose long enough to know that, all right, cool. I'm okay with leaving and I'll decide to come back when that time comes, right? But the fact remains is that this is not a time to panic. This is a time of preparation. If you've never stopped preparing for this moment, good for you, right? There are people who stay with toilet paper stocked in their homes now. There are people who stay with water in their homes now. All of these things matter. All of these things make a difference. All of these things will go a long way if you continue to prepare for the end times, right? If an avian flu decides to hit the United States, and I believe it will, because if the funding has been cut and the director of the CDC stepped down over the weekend, blood clot. Do y'all know what that means? That means that they are targeting children for other things, but yet there are still other things that could affect what is about to tank the ship, right? Gold has reached an all-time high today. That means the United States dollar is still crumbling, baby. Right now, gold is killing it. Even on the regular stock market, even in Forex, it is just doing numbers. That is not a good time. Plus, it's about to be bloody September. It is about to be a hot mess. Now, and AI is about to go through a bubble. Like, there's so many things happening at the same time. And if for whatever reason avian flu decides to come and kick all of our asses, I don't know what to tell you. But it's almost 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? I just want to read to you the final prompts about protecting yourself from avian flu. It says, avoid contact. What should you do? Do not touch sick, dead birds or contaminated materials. Food safety. Cook poultry eggs to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Avoid raw milk products. Hygiene. Wash hands thoroughly. Avoid touching your face. They said people touch their face 2 to 3,000 times a day. That's insane. Protective gear, use PPE if working around at-risk animals or environments. Vaccination, get seasonal flu shots annually. Y'all do what y'all feel, but I'm anti. Stay informed, follow CDC, USDA updates, comply with control measures, rapid response, self-isolate, and seek treatment if exposed or symptomatic. I wanted to talk about the raw milk products because there is this show, right, that I was watching. Two shows actually. I can't remember the second one, but the first one years ago, I had to do a speech for my public speaking class, and it was on Farmageddon. Farmageddon was a documentary about how controlled the milk is across state lines and how they were targeting farmers for basically I want to say this was like during the organic period, and there were some farmers who were trying to have their own like sheep's milk or sheep's cheese, goat milk, and they were crossing state lines from like Pennsylvania to Maine or something like that. And they would literally get to their farm, and then the government would be waiting for them when they got there, and they would go into these trucks and seize all of this shit and just empty it out and get by the gallons. Okay, so farmers have been under attack just as much as spiritual people have been under attack for the last several decades. And at this level, there was something called Roundup that everybody was privy to, which before that there was like starch that we used to put on our clothes. Before that, it was something different, right? They just continue to repurpose these products when they realize that these things are actually harmful to our society or to humans in general. So Roundup, something similar to that was given to farmers because it was a repurposed sewage that they turned into fertilizer. And this was around like 1980, 1986. During those couple of years, they went around to many farmers throughout the United States and say, hey, we have this product. Do you want to use it? It'll help. Da, 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 da. Years later, these cattle ended up coming up with cancer. And so these farmers had to shut down their entire farms because their cattle was cancerous and now their milk is cancerous. And now these milks are in the stores causing people cancer. And you can't have that, right? So what ended up happening was they had to kill or slaughter their cattle because they are no longer useful. So now here we are, fast forwarding to this avian flu. Guess who's infected once again? The cattle. And you know what's being affected where the cancer starts in the teats. So the teats are where you actually milk, or in most cases now, people don't usually like hand milk with their hands and take the teats. They actually use the machines, like they put these ducts on top of them and they milk them and they kind of go into these necessary, bottles or what have you. The problem with that is these things are probably not being cleaned well enough. Who knows how many, cattle this has been used for? Who knows what type of energy transfer there is from the actual electric ducts onto these cattle that is causing this illness or this cancerous type of, thing to these cattle, which is why we have this problem now. So here we are in 2025, continuously dealing with sick cattle, and who knows what else is sick, right? But again, my main concern was, okay, we're headed into football season, and I am not guilty. Um, you know, I am guilty, I should say, of indulging in wings usually for the first kickoff. I have no interest in football. I haven't watched a game since Kaepernick knelt, but I really just be there for the food, which is why I said, like, damn, we be eating mad chicken wings during football season because if anybody lives in the DMV, y'all know how Maryland gets down with the Old Bay seasoning. Y'all ever had Old Bay honey wings? Ciao. Game changer, okay? So, every football season, I'm thinking about this. Like, how can we all have this many wings available? What happens if there is avian flu and now the entire livestock is has to be terminated, right? They have to be slaughtered, and that could be like a million birds. That could completely affect somebody's entire business for multiple years because now you have to raise, and now you have to continue to harvest, and now you have to continue to breed, for you to get your 1 million chickens back, especially if you're only laying eggs, right? Not even if you're producing the chicken wings itself. Just so many different layers that I've been thinking about this and watching this research, all throughout the day and weekend, and just really wondering what happens if avian flu starts to spread. This is an issue in Europe. Now we know this is an issue in India. It was an issue years ago in Asia, and now we're having this issue in America. Please keep an eye on this and just be aware and stay prepared because this is a major, 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 major issue if it does start to transfer to humans. If in the event it does decide to transfer to humans once again, make sure that you're taking the proper precautions. Make sure that you are washing your hands. Make sure that you're not touching your face. Make sure that you are using PPE equipment. That's that face mask, that's hand mask, that's those hazmat suits if you need to. The biggest issue is it getting in your eyes, nose, and mouth because those are open wounds, if you will, right? This is why it's important for you to wash your hands and take care of yourself. This is not going around looking like Michael Jackson all the time, okay? Respect, his birthday was recently, but the fact is, like, he always wore a mask and he always wore gloves. That's where that analogy comes from. All I'm saying is protect yourself and protect your family and make sure you're stocking up on these supplies because we know that Bill Gates has been telling us for years. Literally, I watched his entire speech. That speech was almost a decade ago, his TED Talk. So now you have that, and then you got the World Economic Forum doing simulations about another pandemic. This is real. Do not take this lightly. My dreams reveal a lot. I've been really trying to recall this dream that I had from last night, and I was pissed because they try to make me do something that I'm firmly against in this waking 3D life. And I'm like, hold on, hold on, hold on. I don't know who you are that's trying to communicate with me, but we don't fuck with no Ouija boards. Hell nah, dog. Like if you trying to communicate with me, give me a sign, show me how you want to communicate in another way because I am not about to play this fucking game. If I'm not with that shit in the 3D, we're not gonna do that shit in the 5D. We're not gonna be time traveling another realm. We're not gonna be in other dimensions doing that shit. Okay? If that's something that y'all want to do, cool. But whoever was trying to communicate with me in my dream state, they found another way to communicate with me, and it wasn't through no fucking Ouija board. If that's something that you're doing, you have to stop with the dark magic because y'all be tapping into shit that y'all have no idea what y'all tapping into. Y'all be doing a lot. Spells, like y'all don't even know how to wipe y'all asses, and y'all be putting spells on people. You don't know what you're playing with, and you don't know who those people are protected by. Yeah, I could be a whole ass time traveler out here from another dimension, another galaxy, another realm, another lifetime, and my power is lethal, and y'all trying to put spells on me? Check. Be careful what you're doing out here. Y'all witches and warlocks, y'all be doing team too much. What y'all need to do is get on your knees and repent, okay? Stop doing spells on other people and maybe consider changing your mindset because if you have a hedge of protection surrounding you and if God is protecting you, if the Most High is protecting you, nobody can come up against you. God is not all love and light all the time. That person is a mega force. You hear me, dog? That thing will bring fire and brimstone, floods. You understand? Earthquakes, pestilence, anything like that. My God is more powerful than your magic will ever be. So be careful out here. Y'all gotta watch out. Y'all doing a lot. There are a lot of people awakening right now, and there are a lot of people who will still remain asleep. But the people who are awakening, you don't have to do spells. Just continue to pray to who you believe is God. And most of us believe God is within. You are capable of doing everything that Neo in the Matrix said are capable of doing. Okay. Do you mean that I could dodge bullets? Hell yeah, you could dodge some bullets. I've been dodging bullets my whole life, bruh. Have you ever grew up in the projects? What are you talking about? Anyway, this doesn't have like my 100% energy, but I just wanted to do this off the top just based upon everything that I saw. And this is what I feel. Maybe I'll go back in to, talk about some other stuff some other time, but I have the most incredible week coming up. I have a lot of things to do. If you are in the DMV area, DC, Maryland, or Virginia, I will be at the Wealth Summit Live 2025 in Baltimore, Maryland on Saturday. I am an influencer for this event. Therefore, if you want to buy tickets, please, 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 please DM me or go to Wealth Summit 2025 Live. Buy your tickets on Eventbrite and use code QGH. Okay. Peace. Recording in progress.